Very nice.
What are you doing here?
French and we all just, get to know each other.
A couple is sharing a private moment when they are suddenly interrupted. The woman's young son rushes in, proudly displaying a dead mouse he found in a trap. The mother screams in surprise, and her boyfriend quickly takes the mouse from the boy. A family of 3 prepares their boat. Laura, the mother, talks about her plans to renovate the kitchen, but her husband, Greg, quickly dismisses her idea. She then notices their son, Jamie, playing with a knife and warns him to be careful. Afterward, Greg steps away to take a phone call, leaving Laura and Jamie to continue their work. A nearby man smiles at Laura as she walks along the dock, collecting items in her cart. A box on top of her cart nearly falls, but the man quickly helps her stabilize it. When he leaves, Greg returns with a newspaper that has a shocking headline about an arson on Denton Island. Their conversation is interrupted when Jamie accidentally slips off the deck and into the water. The man rushes to save Jamie, introducing himself as Elliot, and the family thanks him for his bravery. Later, they invite Elliot to join them for dinner. While talking with her friend Myra, Laura finds herself attracted to Elliot, who also catches Myra's eye until her husband, Phil, interrupts. During dinner, Elliot admires one of Laura's paintings, and she shares that she used to sell her art before Greg turned her studio into a storage space, limiting her creativity. Meanwhile, Greg is distracted, flirting with his assistant Hannah over the phone. As they sit down to eat, Elliot offers to help with the renovation at a family discount, which the couple eagerly accepts. The next day, Laura goes for a jog with her friend Myra, and they chat about how attractive Elliot is. Myra finds it interesting that Elliot was working at Laura's house. When Laura gets home, she sees Elliot outside without a shirt. She walks over to him as he talks about the renovation plans, but she can't help but admire his body. After they finish talking, Laura rushes upstairs to take a shower. While she is getting ready, Elliot walks by her room without her noticing. Later, Laura goes to the supermarket to choose colors for the kitchen. Elliot comes up behind her and compliments her selections. He surprises her with a taste of cannoli juice and shares a fond memory of a bakery called Laodicea that he used to visit with his mom. After shopping, they head back home, where Myra arrives and sees Elliot working shirtless again. She is intrigued and starts asking him about his life. Elliot mentions that he is single, but hints that he likes someone.
Well, I do have my eye on someone.
Later, Laura goes with Elliot to the boatyard to check Greg's boat for any issues. While looking around, she finds a pair of purple panties hidden under the cushions, leaving her shocked and heartbroken. She suspects they belong to Greg's assistant, Hannah. Elliot notices her distress and gently asks what's wrong. Laura opens up to him about her find. To confirm her fears, she checks Hannah's profile on a dating site and finds enough proof to connect her to the panties. Heartbroken, Laura starts to cry. Elliot comforts her, urging her to move forward and explore new opportunities. To help her feel better, he takes her to his boat, where they enjoy coffee and chat. Before she leaves, he covers her with a blanket, and they share smiles before saying goodbye. Elliot goes back to his boat, crying as he looks at old photos of his mother. Laura questions Greg about where he was the night before. He insists he was working and called Hannah for help. When Greg tries to get closer, she pushes him away, showing her irritation. The next morning, Elliot comes to the house to prepare for renovations. After a jog, Laura sees Jamie happily talking to him. She is impressed by how easily Elliot connects with kids. After sending Jamie off to play with Myra and Charlie, Laura goes to take a shower. Soon after, Elliot enters the bathroom and undresses. He kisses her, and she kisses him back. Later at the boatyard, Laura sees couples hugging and thinks about her troubled marriage. She approaches Greg, who greets her warmly and casually mentions that teens often sneak onto boats. When Laura mentions the purple underwear, Greg says it must belong to one of the kids. Although she is skeptical, Greg hugs her and declares his love. Meanwhile, Elliot is playing with Jamie outside. Laura arrives with Myra and watches as Elliot gives Jamie candy. After sending Jamie to play with Charlie, Laura takes Elliot to the shed, trying to end their growing closeness and stating her loyalty to Greg. However, Elliot ignores her and starts to seduce her again. Despite her resistance, Laura eventually gives in. As night falls, Elliot goes back to his boat, cutting Greg out of Laura's photos and replacing him with himself. His obsession grows. The next morning, he surprises Laura with yellow roses for her birthday, showing he knows her favorite flowers. Shocked by his intensity, Laura stares at him. Greg notices the roses as he leaves for work. He is surprised by Elliot's gesture, knowing yellow roses are Laura's favorite. After Greg leaves, Laura angrily confronts Elliot, scolding him for his behavior. Yet her anger only seems to intensify Elliot's obsession. Laura realizes she misjudged Greg and decides to end her relationship with Elliot. She confronts him, insisting he leave the house and stop working there. Elliot, heartbroken by her decision, starts to shake with emotion. Later, Laura comes home with Jamie, telling him that Elliot is gone. However, Elliot is secretly watching her from the yard. That evening, as Laura prepares for her birthday party, she steps outside to find friends and family, including Greg and Elliot, waiting to surprise her. She expresses her gratitude and shares a sweet kiss with Greg, while Elliot observes from a distance. During the party, Greg's assistant, Hannah, arrives and excitedly talks about Greg's efforts in organizing the event. Greg introduces Hannah to Elliot, who flirts with him. Elliot, however, is distracted, his eyes on Laura. Feeling uneasy, he leaves, but Hannah follows him, eager to chat. Elliot barely engages, still focused on Laura. After the party, Hannah approaches Elliot and suggests they go out together. Meanwhile, Laura lies in bed with Greg, struggling to tell him about her brief affair with Elliot. After they fall asleep, Laura receives a text from Elliot pleading for her to be with him. At the same time, Elliot takes Hannah to his boat. She makes advances, but he is not interested. Frustrated, Hannah tries to leave and notices Laura's pictures all over the walls. Realizing the extent of Elliot's obsession, she calls him a lunatic, which triggers his rage. In a fit of anger, Elliot strangles her. The next morning, Laura is watering the garden when Greg joins her, expressing his love and promising more time together after their sailing trip. They share a kiss, but Elliot watches from inside the house, filled with jealousy. After Greg departs, Laura enters the shed and is shocked to see it turned into an art studio filled with canvases. Her surprise quickly shifts to fear as she reads obsessive phrases like "forever and ever" and "Laura plus Elliot true love" written everywhere. Suddenly, she hears Jamie scream from inside the house. She rushes in to find Jamie on the floor. In a panic, she checks on him, and he nervously tells her that Elliot is there looking for him. Laura hurries outside to confront Elliot, demanding he leave her family alone and stop his creepy surprises. Elliot's behavior then takes a sinister turn as he becomes convinced that Laura's marriage to Greg is over. His obsession leads to a physical struggle when he grabs Laura forcefully. She screams for help, and Jamie stumbles upon the scene, causing Elliot to let her go and storm off in anger. Later that night, Laura searches online for reviews of Elliot's work. She finds a disturbing comment from someone named Purple Wallflower, who claims Elliot ruined her life. Concerned, Laura decides to dig deeper. The next morning, she goes to Denton Island, where a man points her to a woman named Willie Hamill. Initially reluctant, Willie eventually shares that Elliot destroyed her marriage and family, warning Laura to investigate his past with his mother. Clearly shaken, Willie abruptly ends the conversation and shuts her door. Meanwhile, at the docks, a young woman accidentally drops her necklace into the water. As she reaches for it, a dead woman's face surfaces, causing panic among the crowd. News spreads that the body is Hannah's. Myra and Bill hear the news and try to contact Greg, but they can't reach him. Elliot sneaks up on Greg and attacks him. Back at home, Laura wakes up startled by a noise. She grabs a baseball bat and heads downstairs. In the living room, she sees a plate of cannoli and a broken window frame underneath it. On the boat, Greg wakes up tied to a pole. He manages to break free and spots a picture of Laura. While he's looking at it, Elliot appears and knocks him down. Greg tries to fight back, but Elliot is too strong and angry. Meanwhile, Laura talks to Myra about her worries regarding Greg's disappearance. She confesses to having an affair with Elliot and describes his obsessive and threatening behavior. Seeking answers, Laura goes to the bakery where Elliot used to visit as a child. While ordering tea and a cupcake, she notices a wall filled with photographs. The elderly woman at the counter shares stories about Elliot's troubled childhood, mentioning how he often came there with his mother, who had issues with unfaithful partners. She also reveals that Elliot's problems led to a tragic event where he burned down his family home. Stunned, Laura stands to leave, but the woman adds a chilling detail. Elliot was there that morning, saying he intended to marry a widow and become a stepfather.
He's getting married to a widowed artist.
Alarmed, Laura rushes home only to find Elliot instead of Greg. Her fear grows as Elliot becomes more threatening. When she asks about Greg, Elliot reacts violently, grabbing Laura and pulling her upstairs. Jamie tries to help, but Elliot quickly overpowers him, locking Laura in the bedroom and tying her to the bed. Laura pretends to care for Elliot, convincing him that she shares his feelings. Trusting her, Elliot unties her, and they go downstairs for dinner. At the table, Jamie is tied to a chair. At that moment, Myra and Bill arrive outside. Laura carefully approaches the window to signal them, but Elliot sees her and forces Laura and Jamie back upstairs. To separate Laura, Elliot lets Jamie go outside and locks him out, saying he wants to be alone with her. In the bedroom, Elliot becomes aggressive and tries to assault Laura. As he holds her down on the bed, Jamie bursts in, triggering a painful memory for Elliot. He suddenly recalls a vivid scene from his childhood, seeing his mother in bed with her boyfriend. This memory momentarily freezes him, giving Laura a chance. She strikes him, breaks free, and rushes downstairs with Jamie. She tells Jamie to run for his life, ensuring he escapes. Before Laura can get away, Elliot recovers and confronts her. They engage in a fierce struggle, with Laura fighting hard to defend herself. The tension rises as their violent fight reaches a peak. Elliot throws Laura across the floor and hits her with a hammer, knocking her out. As the night goes on, he wraps her in a sack and drags her to a boat. However, Laura wakes up, cuts her way out of the bag, and escapes. She faces Elliot, and in a desperate moment, stabs him in the stomach before running away. While fleeing, she sees a trail of blood leading to another boat. Following it, she finds Greg unconscious on the floor. She tries to call the Coast Guard, but the phone lines are cut. Suddenly, Elliot appears on the boat. Laura manages to hit him again, temporarily stunning him before she escapes as he chases her. The chase leads to an upper room where Elliot traps Laura and tries to strangle her. Gathering all her strength, Laura fights back and pushes him out of a window. Elliot crashes down, hitting his head fatally on the deck below. After the ordeal, Laura and her family enjoyed a peaceful and happy life together. And with that, the movie ends.